Alright, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Chupacabra's lair. I'm your host, Larry, and we're back. We're going to be checking out another indie game here today, The First Tree, which is made by a singular indie developer named David Well, or maybe it's Wheel. And he has created a game that incorporates two interwoven stories, the story of a lovely fox and of a gentleman out in the world who is merely dreaming all of this. And I'm not really spoiling anything because, well, that's like the first 5 minutes of the game. So yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that the game looks this gorgeous going further in. I've played a teensy tiny little bit of it so far to get a feel for the controls, but I do not fully know what's going on because, well, I wanted this to be fresh and without any preconceived notions of what this adventure kind of exploration game is all about. It seems to have done well with users so far, with very positive reviews, so here's hoping. We start out our journey on a very lonely, snowy mountain, probably somewhere in the Rockies. You know how those Rockies are. Lots of really gorgeous landscapes, lots of lush greenery. And your occasional fox sleeping in a miniature cave. Although I don't see our little cubs, our little kits from the start of the game, the opening sequence.
Are you awake? I thought I heard you get up.
Yeah, I'm awake. Sorry, I just can't sleep.
Are you thinking about him?
Yeah, a bit. Usually get back to sleep, my love. I'm fine.
No, it's okay. What else is on your mind?
I don't know. It seems weird, but I had one of the most vivid dreams of my life. I saw a fox on a snowy mountain, just looking confused and worried. Those eyes. I can't get those eyes out of my head. She was running in the windy snow, looking for something.
Do you think it has to do with you and what's been going on?
I don't know. It was just a dream, Rachel. They're not meant to make sense. A lot's happened the past couple days, that's all.
Well, if you're not going to sleep anyway, you should tell me. I want to hear.
All right.
Alright, so that's our introduction to the game. We play as a cute little fox, or at least, you know, a fox with a minimal amount of foxy detail. We can double jump, we can run around, we can sprint, we can walk daintily, and we can zoom in and out with the scroll wheel. That's pretty much our lot in life. And I'm going to guess that because the narrator said that our lovely foxy friend looks concerned, nervous, a little bit frightened, that I guess our children have wandered off or were stolen by a bear. Really it could be either or, although it's usually very unusual for an animal to come and kill your cubs and for you to have absolutely no idea what happened, considering most wild animals sleep like, you know, they sleep really lightly. They don't sleep like a rock like your pal Larry. So this is just telling us that to get over obstacles, we'll occasionally have to engage in a double jump. And for the most part, this is a game where we kind of just wander around, explore a little bit, and see what's going on in the wilderness. So this kind of blocked-in area that we were in before is kind of like the starter area. And now it kind of seems like we're going into a wider area of like a park, like we're living in Yellowstone, or maybe it's like Estes Park. Because we've got like an old abandoned tent here, and a sleeping bag, and a really large park bench. I feel like things in this game are not really to scale, because these are like big lodgepole pine trees, and this tent is bigger than the trees in the environment. But I mean, we do have some of the foliage detail that we had from the opening menu, so that's pretty cool. I don't know, this could end up being another game where we just kind of wander around listening to a narrator, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. There's definitely been a lot of games out there that have done that well. I'd also say there's a lot of games that do that really poorly. And historically I've run into a couple of those in the past, and I think people know exactly the titles that I'm referring to. So I guess there's nothing over here. Let's just follow the main path. I'm guessing the goal is to follow the sun? Because when you look at the sun, you know, the whole environment and landscape seems to get lighter in color. So maybe there's goodies up here. Or maybe the family reunion is just over this hill. Either that or there's going to be like a really sad scene with like my dead babies and like vultures or something. Okay. I don't see anything. Wait, are those birds? Hey birds, you're not eating my son, are you? Ah, alright, well, I called it. I didn't really want to call it, but, you know, that's life, you know, for wild animals. So how do I get this to do the thing?
So, not far from her home, she followed that path to something unexpected.
Well, that's real sad. You know, it's kind of difficult for animals like this to really handle the loss of a child. Because for human beings, you know, it's one thing to lose a child. It's very emotional. For these animals,
she had to find her other 2 children. So she took that path. She followed it towards something ancient. Something with answers.
Something ancient and with answers. Is it the first tree? But yeah, like animals, it's a question of calories and resources spent. Because animals have to spend, like, their very limited resources on trying to raise young and continue their genetic lineage, so it's doubly tragic with animals. Although I don't know if animals all share the same emotional bonds with their children that humans do. But it's still really sad.
The fox looked high and low, searching for any sign of her cubs. Points of light showed the way to this ancient tree. It was as if each one had a story to tell, all their own. The land was trying to tell my story, too. I felt like I was right behind her the whole time.
Okay, so I guess off in the distance over there, that's the same tree from the start menu, so I'm guessing the game is telling us that we need to go to these different points of interest here that are relatively close to us and interact with them, and they will tell us a story, probably of the fox or maybe the narrator himself. That is a very large bird shadow. Yeah, we'll eventually end off the story, the climax, when we reach the great grand tree, eh? Hey, bunnies! Hey, come here! I just want to make friends with you and, you know, eat you and become one with your flesh. No, there's no need to run. I just want to be, you know, teeth friends. It's fine. It's, alright, fine. I just want to eat you. Is it so wrong? I'm a fox. I've had a rough day. My kid is dead. I feel like I've earned a little something, yeah? Alright, so I mean, this is kind of a neat landscape. I'm gonna say that the landscape in the distance is kind of boring, though. There's really not a lot to say about the details. It's kind of like we got some pre-made chunks from different plants like trees or shrubs and some creatures like this fox, but everything is low poly. And the up-close details, I guess, are fine, because this is about an $8 title. But I don't know about the distance. Like, I feel like in the distance you could have added more trees. Low-rendered trees. Probably wouldn't tax the system all that much. But the controls seem smooth enough. I've got a quick little double jump. I can wibble-wobble through the air. So yeah, I mean, at least that part of it's solid. A lot of games like this kind of skimp on everything but the visuals. and the narration and everything that kind of ties it together sometimes is kind of poopy. So here we have... Is this a puddle? What is this? Or is this like a mound of dirt? Yes, it is. Okay, what's inside?
As a kid, did you ever do show and tell in your class?
Yeah, I think I only did it once, when I was in the 4th grade.
What
You
is
know how
that?
life was around then.
Oh, it's a little toy
I wanted
boat.
to show my class what helped pass the time and distract me. So I brought a dozen paper cranes I had made. I think I told everyone how badly I wanted to be a bird and fly, embarrassingly enough.
Don't be embarrassed. Every kid wants to fly. For me, it was another toy from my dad, a wooden boat. I remember guarding it so carefully in my hands as I walked into class. When I sat down, a group of boys immediately made fun of it. They asked which trash can I found it in, or why an ugly log was my favorite toy. When I got up, I didn't even want to tell them my dad had carved it. I said it was a joke gift my friends had given me.
Kids can be so cruel.
Some of them are. I shouldn't have let them get to me, but it did. It's amazing we bounced back at all.
I mean, I will agree, kids are like nature's perfect little monsters, both physically and socially. Like, they'll do unspeakable harm to one another, both physically and psychologically, and then everyone will forget about it like 2 weeks later, and then it's all right back to the drawing board. I used to get really into show and tell when I was little, like, definitely in preschool and elementary school. I was always into bugs, so it was like, here's a giant cool beetle, or here's like a moth that I found. Or at one point I brought in, with the assistance of my parents, we brought a snapping turtle and some frogs into class. The snapping turtle had to just remain in its little enclosure. People couldn't hold it, because that's a good way to lose a finger. So, let's see, what's in this one?
Do you remember what my dad did?
Hey, it's a train!
Wasn't he like a lumberjack?
That's one way of putting it. If wood was a canvas, then a carving knife was his paintbrush. Even after working a 50-hour week, even after his hands were more splinters than skin, he would bring home the nicest piece of Alaskan weeping cedar and make me toys. That wooden train was the first toy I can remember, and I loved it. I just knew from a young age I was going to be a lumberjack, like my father.
Alright, so I mean, so I was kind of ragging on the graphics, but I like the color gradient going on here, almost like the northern lights where we're reflecting the clouds from the skybox onto the snow. That looks really, really good. Like, I like that. That was very nice and relaxing. I think the only thing I kind of want right now is I kind of want some more background music, just to kind of help me chill and experience the story. I don't know. I feel like this is a story that's produces more of a connection with people, because there's both a male and a female narrator going on here, although the primary story is the male narrator. So there's, I don't know, it's like a coming-of-age story almost, or at least it's shaping up to be. So I guess my goal is I'm just gonna dick around in the environment until I find all of the glowy bits. That is a tank. That is a straight-up, like, tank from, like, World War... Maybe not World War II. It looks like... kind of like Vietnam era? Maybe a little later than that? It looks like, could be American. Could be... No, that might be Russian, actually. I don't know. It's been too long since I played a bunch of games like War Thunder to tell.
Usually those kids would leave me alone, but somehow they could tell I was different. They made fun of how far away I lived. They called my dad a sourdough. I was a blabbermouth as a kid, telling my dad stories I made up for hours. But after that show and tell, I didn't tell him much anymore. He didn't know exactly what was wrong, but his best guess was that the toys he carved weren't cool enough. He carved me a tank and tried to tell me what it was like to be in a real tank as a serviceman.
I didn't know your dad was in the military.
Yeah, in the army. The sad thing is that I'd pretty much forgotten until just now. There's so much I still don't know about him.
I'm sorry. He knows how much you love him. You're going to see him again soon, and have some closure, I'm sure.
Alright, so there's just like a giant random tank. It looks like at the top of this hill is just some more of those motes of light. I don't know that those are for anything, so I'm just gonna go this way. I'm definitely not going to 100% a story or a game all about the story. So, yeah, whatever's up there can just stay up there. So we got some more stuff over there. It looks like the big, bright, shiny spots of light are story pieces. The ones that glimmer like the North Star. So I'm gonna head over there and see what we've got. I don't know. I feel like I like the story of this better and some of the set pieces. There certainly isn't a bunch of mini games to kind of try and entertain you as you go along, but at least what you got works and isn't buggier than hell. So we got like a little... Oh, we got like a little playground here. I'm starting to think that this has less to do with being a legitimate park, because you don't find like this type of playset up in the middle of the mountains for no reason. And it's more of a... like just a set piece to help tell the story. Like, what the hell is this blue thing? It's like a shed? Is this where the mountain hobo lives? Oh, there's like, what is that? Oh, they're like chip bags. Like kids would make a fort out in the woods and just, you know, litter everywhere, because that's what kids do, because they're kids. They're kind of dumb that way. Alright. I mean, I remember forts was always a big thing with me and my friends. It's like every time I go to their house, it's like, oh, Larry, we should make a pillow fort and crap. And I'm like, why? We're just gonna do the same shit we're doing now, but in a fort. But then we have to clean it up after we're done. From a very young age, I was all about not doing certain things unless really peer pressured into it. Like, I mean, extensively over the course of several sleepovers. Because, well, I didn't want to have to put away like 50 blankets and 50... Oh, that's a giant school bus. Miss Frizzle, are you in there? I need to be returned back to human form. I am trapped in a fox's body in some sort of... This is a really big bus. This bus is way larger than it should be. Okay, I have gotten myself stuck. That's not good. No. Game? Okay, so found a bug trying to jump on the magic. I just wanted to ride on the magic school bus with Mrs. Frizzle. Alright, let's go exit to the menu. Maybe I can load back in. There is a continue button. Oh, really? What part does it continue at? Are you for real? Oh, shit that. Alright, well. That's unfortunate. It looks like there are a couple bugs that need to be ironed out in this game so far. Note to self, don't screw around with the bus and stay off of prop pieces. I'll be right back. Okay, well, I've gotten back to where we were. I figured out that you can kind of just skip large swaths of this game, it looks like, where I went from the opening narration straight to, hey, look, a tree! So that's nice, that at least the narrator or the developer, David Well, doesn't force you to go back through every iota of the game, which would be absolutely obnoxious. So let's see what we got here. Another mystery hole. What is it? Is it bacon?
The more I withdrew, I asked myself, why talk to anybody anyway? Why bother when I'm happy by myself? I started drawing a lot, mostly animals I saw in the woods by my home. I then imagined designing my own hideouts with things like TVs and pantries full of chips and cookies. I think that idea of leaving home and drawing blueprints started my career. I found a lot of solace in that.
I'm not surprised, but I did the same thing, you know? There's something special about having a place to call your own.
And now look at us. Well, if you count renting in an overpriced city.
It's as close as we can get for now.
Okay, so I guess this guy is an artiste. Is this like this isn't the coming of age story of like the narrator, is it? and with, like, I don't know, the loss of his father or something? Could be. That would be grim. I mean, whatever helps you get over your grief, I suppose, at the end of the day. Oh, we're in a new area. Oh, hey, it's springtime. Welcome to springtime, everybody. Okay. Well, that was a little more than I was anticipating. We went from the depths of wintertime to the middle of spring. The birds are here, the flowers are blooming, and by now all of my fox kids are probably dead. Because this is not how the environment works, but I guess this is technically a dream sequence, so it works just fine. My kids are fine.
My teenage years were full of sketching, angst, and trouble. I wasn't popular or unpopular. Maybe just forgettable. I guess that gave me a sense of freedom. So I hung out with crazy kids, doing crazy things, even though I mostly just watched the chaos ensue. We did it all. Put fireworks in mailboxes, hide roadkill in people's garages, break windows of the barber shop in Anchorage. My dad was furious, but he was so busy working he couldn't do much to stop me from going out.
I think being an adult means there's no one to stop you making hard decisions. He had to make a living, and he couldn't be in two places at once.
Yeah, I realize that now. But at the time, I was sure he was more interested in growing his business than what was going on with me.
Alright, so we found a cop car. I think the next story might involve an arrest record. Something about this whole cop business is giving me that vibe. I'm not sure what it is, but let's find out. I don't know. This area, this environment's looking a lot better, at least when you get the grass popping in at a certain distance. But overall, I don't know that the visuals of this game are standing up to scrutiny all that well. But it's an $8 walk around to listen game, so who cares? Just enjoy. It just gives you something to fart around with while you're listening to the story, I suppose, so why not?
He was working another late night.
Hey, car
My friends
keys!
were over, saying how bored they were and how they'd come all the way out to my house for nothing. One of them mentioned how that old, ugly beyond belief truck was still in the garage and how we should take it for a spin. I was only 15, so I kind of fought it for a while. The next thing I knew, we were careening around the mountain path, rocks spitting onto the sides of the cliff, while my dad's cringeworthy bluegrass blared out the speakers. I drove while my friends were in the back of that yellow and purple truck, throwing beer bottles and trash at anything remotely interesting. Felt like I was soaring in the air with borrowed wings. But all good things have endings. A cop outside of Eagle River pulled us over after he saw us in a bottle rocket into someone's yard. What followed was a long night of talking to disappointed adults and feeling smaller than ever.
Okay, so yeah, they had a joyride with Daddy's car, they got arrested. There's like a swarm of butterflies here, so that's kind of neat. And I've got my own butterflies. Whee! Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay. That's a special jump pad butterfly. Alright. I'm down to clown with that. Come back here, you. I'm gonna use you to get to the other mode of light, because I have a feeling that that's a new thing. That's the only thing that they've put in this game that I actually can properly interact with. Besides the story bits. The story bits don't count. Those are story bits. Those count as story bits, not gameplay. So gameplay, butterfly power. Got it. I am Butterfly Man, only slightly more remarkable than Marker Man, the man who has the power to sniff markers. It's exactly what it... Oh, alright, I fucked that up. It's exactly what it sounds like. I noticed that you really have to, like, really quickly double tap the jump button, or else you do not always get that proper double jump. I feel like that could do with some refinement. Now that this game is out, you've certainly got plenty of time to patch that in, I would say. There we go. Beautiful. Yeah, you just gotta mash that button immediately, or else you're not gonna get anything. Got it. Alright. I mean, I don't know. The game is what it is. I It's a story. You either like this kind of a story or you don't like this kind of a story, or it doesn't make a connection with you. I feel like this one's better than the last one I checked out, That Dragon Cancer, because you actually start at the beginning when this dude's like a little kid, and with this cool fox analogy, which is at least a set piece that I can follow along with, having watched lots of National Geographic. And there's actually something cool to look at. The other one was just kind of a disjointed mess of different areas and dumb mini games, which were all really buggy and kind of pointless. So we got more butterflies, which I saw like 2 or 3 of them, so they must be important. Do I need to like get all of them to get out of here? Oh yeah, there's one hiding down here. This is where I'd put my babies, if I had any! I wonder, since this is a dream sequence, maybe this is some sort of nightmare where I'm like an ancient immortal fox, and I need my children so that I can invade their bodies and live forever. So being a fox replicant, like, I can completely understand the woe and the sorrow of this fox.
After he drove me home from the police station, I blew up at him, saying how I never wanted to be like him, how I was gonna be someone and leave that hick icebox for good. He just looked forward at the road with tired eyes. I took out that bluegrass tape from the cassette deck and chucked it out the window. In my sage teenage wisdom, I thought I proved the ultimate point. But my dad had a different idea. He slammed the brakes, slowly bowed his head while gripping the steering wheel, and finally looked at me. All he said, like it was a polite request, was, "Make this right." I sat there in silence, fuming, but I eventually got out and combed every square inch of the woods, muttering profanity after profanity. I found it 30 minutes later, near a small waterfall off the road. I went back to the truck, put the wet tape back in, and sure enough it worked. We didn't speak another word to each other the rest of the night.
Wow, I knew you were a crazy teenager, but...
It's hard to believe, isn't it? It surprises me too. It's like I didn't really know who that kid was back then.
What? Crazy teenager? I had kids who got, like, their rib cages kicked in by bulls in my school. This is the tamest shit I've heard all day. I mean, I guess for Alaska, Anchorage, Alaska, that's pretty crazy.
About that night and talk about how crazy it was. And I laughed along, pretending it didn't bother me. But it did. I imagined my friends growing old in the bush, unable to find that thrill in those godforsaken ice fields. It's like those mountains were a literal wall, keeping me from leaving, where all I would have to look forward to are lumber yards and evening beers. I had to climb over. That was my only goal for a long time.
Oh hey, there's that shitty old truck that he was talking about. It's all so metaphorical. Alright, at least this is metaphorical in a way that isn't stupid. Because, man, some of these games are boring. I don't know, this is really gonna be up to you guys at home. I mean, if you like a story like a coming-of-age thing, that's completely your deal. I like this because I can kind of relate to it a bit, because, you know, I had a shitty Jeep that I drove to high school growing up, and oh, the stories I could tell about that pile of junk. And it's good to do that, because it's a fun story. That's really what growing up is. It's a fun story to share when you get older. Because it's always stupid.
If there was some way I could take my love of drawing and turn it into a way of escape, nothing would make me happier. I wanted to create instead of tearing trees down. I wanted to move to the lower 48, not because I hated it there in Alaska, but I hated the idea of it. It's like all of that spite inside me had created this monster which followed me around my whole teenage years. I put so much energy into doing what others didn't expect of me. Why did I do that?
There's one fact you're forgetting, though. If you didn't have that fire in you, we probably would have never met.
You're absolutely right. Maybe the destination is all that matters in the end. But then why am I awake? Why am I seeing this fox go on her journey? And why can't I stop thinking about my dad?
Okay, so that's ominous. I think we've all been to the point in our lives where we were kind of a belligerent little shit about something. I mean, it's just, there's phases of growing up, growing older, getting more mature, and everyone's gotta get there at some point. It's just that some people go for a joyride in their dad's car and crash it or something, and some people just piss off all their friends and don't talk to them anymore for various reasons. I kinda grew apart from my friends from high school for the most part. I still talk with several of them, but certainly not all of them, and that's just a part of growing old, you know? You don't need to retain every single friend that you've ever met. It's not like a reflection on you, or a reflection on this product placement of Coca-Cola in this game. What does that say? I think it's Foxa-Cola or something. That's kind of cute. I'm gonna try and stay away from the set pieces to some extent, though, because so far I have gotten hung up on each and every one of them. So I don't know, like, this game is alright. I'm kind of meh on it, like, it's not crazy good, it's not bad, it's just kind of there in the middle. It's one of those titles that I would buy on, like, a Steam sale, and I would fart around in just to see what it was like. Kind of like what I did for this whole YouTube video thing. It's not bad, though. It's really, these games are always about, do you like this kind of game? Because it's very yes or no with people. It's not like people that are on the fence like, oh, if only it was like slightly better graphics or like slightly more mini games. It's like, you either like these games or you hate them. You either really feel for every single one of these authors, or you're like me, where not every one of these hits home. Like, you know, I thought that Dragon Cancer was not very well made. This game, at least it's got more polygons, and there's actually something to look at. If this was that other game, there would just be the occasional polygons, some low-res textures. You wouldn't even get this, like, stuff here on this rock, this carving-looking stuff. So hold on, what's this thing? This is another pile of dirt. Tell me your secrets, dirt.
At the times when I detested him the most, he kept reaching out. For a year straight, he asked me every week when we were going camping. I thought he was just dense. Eventually, to shut him up, I agreed. We carried out the worn lawn chairs from the garage and set up a cinder block campfire at the site we had always used behind the house. We walked down the mountain path, talking in the warm sunshine we only got a couple months of the year. Those 3 obsidian rocks shimmered alongside the shore, almost like sparklers pressed against a dark window. I'll never forget that wet stone on my feet, or how those massive mountains looked even bigger in the lake's reflection. I felt small, but grateful. As the sun set, my dad found something I hadn't seen for a long time. The tree where I'd made my first carving when I was 6. I hadn't even carved it. My dad had helped me, but I still called it my tree. Something about seeing my name there made me open up, and we talked about everything that night in that old camouflage tent. I told him how much I loved sketching and design, and how it would be a dream to study architecture in Seattle. I told him how I didn't get along with my friends much anymore, but that I didn't mind being alone. He told me he was there for me, and he joked that if all he had to do was write my name on a tree to finally get me to talk, he would have left me carved logs with novels on them in front of my room every morning. I don't know why it took me that long to realize it, but it was then I knew how much he had sacrificed for me.
Aw, well that's adorable. Alright, let's howl at these sticks. I mean, the thing that I think a lot of people don't get is, like, you should probably spend more time with your parents, because they're not gonna be there forever kind of a deal. What, am I missing something here? Do I need to, I guess I have to go find stuff, alright. Yeah, I mean, that's part of why I want to go see soon the fall colors with my father. It's because it's important to spend time with your family, because they won't be there forever. Those are the kind of memories that you want. You know, you don't want to have, you know, been just a dick to your parents in the later part of your life. You want to have, you know, something nice to think about with them. And that's really, you know, life is really just, and I think that's what this story is getting at, is life is really just one of those journeys. It's not about the destination. Life has literally one destination. You're dead in a hole in the ground. So you might as well enjoy everything else in between while you get there, you know? The goal of life isn't to get there relatively intact. The goal is to be beat to hell. To have a hell of a journey while you're getting there. The other thing that's worth noting is, you know, reality itself is gonna fade eventually. Like, there's a certain death of the universe date out there where all of the energy in the universe fades and the last atom, you know, decays into nothing. So don't put too much thought into every iota of things that you've ever thought about in your life. Just do the thing. Go have some of them experiences. Go to France and, I don't know, rub your face against the Eiffel Tower. I don't know about that. The Eiffel Tower bores the shit out of me, but it might be cool to check out if you're just in the neighborhood. So there is an old barn. Let's see what this is about.
On our property, there were old abandoned pieces of a shed and car long left unused. I used to ask him all the time who those people were that left all this junk. And I'm sure he got so tired of hearing it that he made up some elaborate stories how a brown bear ate them and haunted the woods afterwards. What's funny is I think it made those people seem more real. Growing up thinking they were still hanging out like they couldn't say goodbye. I used to tell my friends how I could swear I saw spirits move near the water, and that always freaked them out. I guess it didn't bother me, because the way I saw it, they were normal people with old cars.
Hey, that's
sheds,
moving. Shit.
just trying to
I'm gonna go
figure out
touch it
how to
with my
survive
face.
in
Come
the
back here, you.
In the middle of nowhere. It was a cool thought that they didn't want to leave, but you know, I was a weird kid.
Man, every kid's
I've had
weird.
good company since those ghosts like living in a place where they were brutally devoured.
I don't know. Is any kid really that normal? I feel like every kid's a bit of a weirdo. That's kind of the whole developing a unique personality kind of thing. Like, I don't know. I like random things. I like a good crass humor, and that's me. That's not everybody. But being plain Jane, like, white bread kid that only has, like, safe, like, clean jokes, that in and of itself can be kind of weird, depending on the company you keep. Some people like people that are weird. So that's normal to someone else. Weird is so contextual, too. I don't know that that has a lot of particular meaning to it. Alright, so I'm just looking for high-up places to, like, bark off of. Got it. Alright, let's bark. What? Am I just bowing to... I guess I'm just bowing to the sun in 3 different spots. Alright. Was there, like, a thing above this that I was supposed to get? No, it just turned into a bunch of particle effects. Alright. It's a good thing I'm a magical dream fox, or else I would have broken my ankles like 3 stages ago. The second I jumped over the world's most massive log, which is probably yet another symbolic set piece. Giant log the size of Canada. So, that was one. Is there another? I'm sure I'll fuck about and find it. That I think is the thing about these games that I'm not always keen on, is the fucking about part. Because eventually fucking about in the wilderness, you can do that in every game. That's not really unique. I do that shit in Horizon Zero Dawn 9 times out of 10 when I first log that game, and I'm just like, I'm gonna go murder some robot dinosaurs and find my inner child, which is probably covered in dead robot dinosaur. So there you have it. So basically, this is the coming-of-age story about this kid's trip through adolescence, which figuring out who you are and what you want to do with yourself is just part of growing. Because your brain is, like, developing and changing, and it's getting all them hormones, and you're just trying to not explode or get unwanted boners in the middle of class. That's, like, the hardest thing you have to worry about.
My dad built a lot of stuff in his free time. If he wasn't watching fly fishing or reading Tom Clancy novels, he was carving something. He made tons of birdhouses. Not that he was into bird watching, but I think he really missed working and adding on to the home. If he couldn't afford the time to build onto our own house, he would have to settle with watching birds move into their little homes. We kept an old mattress in the bed of that ugly yellow truck, so we would drive it deep into the woods and then watch the birds fly into their houses while the sun set. Usually it was accompanied by venison jerky or a cold Coke, but not a lot of talking, which is how we both liked it.
Alright, that's just straight up some redneck shit right there, but I've done that. Just not said words and stared out at the trees. I mean, when you live in Colorado, like, that's like Alaska light. There's like a lot of mountain action, you go fuck about in the mountains. Nowadays it's mostly urban. There's a lot of growing or developments up in there, a lot of homes and everything, I don't know. I think I'm gonna leave it here. This game is about an hour and a half long in total. It's about $8. It's okay. It doesn't make me explode with wonderment, but it's not the worst thing I've ever played. I find this a hell of a lot more interesting than other games of this variety. It's right up there with Proteus. Proteus, while nothing really is going on, or there wasn't really an inherent story, at least what they did with it was kind of neat. This is kind of neat in that I think people actually relate to this story a little bit. I can definitely see where, reading some of the negative comments about the game, people were kind of saucy about the control scheme not feeling super responsive. I can say that this jump mechanic's a little janky. Is it world-ending? Not really. Again, like, you either like these stories or you don't. If you start playing this game and you don't like it, just refund it. It's not a big deal. It's $8. So, I'm gonna say I'm neutral. I'm neutral about this. My review on Steam will be informative only, and that will be about it. You can check it out if you're interested, but yeah, it's the first tree. If you get to the second tree, you have gone way too far. You need to find the crow that tells riddles to get back on track. So that's it for this one, ladies and gentlemen. I've been your host, Larry. This has been a fox fucking around while a middle-aged man has an identity crisis. And I'll catch you next time. I'm gonna go bark at these glowing lights. I'm not even barking. I'm literally just stepping on these pads, getting filled with alien magic. I don't even. Alright, bye everybody. Have a good one.